powered by Riverside FM.
I got three names for you, UP Nation. Three names of Minnesota Viking players. Not that they're underrated, but three names that you may not be looking at as having breakout seasons. Everybody talks about Justin Jefferson. Everybody talks about J.J. McCarthy. Everybody talks about Jordan Addison. I got three names for you. I got three names for you of guys that I think are going to do the do for the Minnesota Vikings in 2025. Names that a whole lot of people aren't talking about, especially in the national media. We know who these players are at home. But I was just kind of looking through the roster, man. I'm like, man, there's always that player that has a breakout season. I got three of them for you. Number one is my dude, the Swiss Army knife, Josh Metellus. Now, we all know how talented Josh Metellus is. Nobody's disputing that, and I damn sure wouldn't call him underrated. But when you look at the defensive side of the ball, just think about the names that have been mentioned over the last couple of months. Hasn't been a whole lot of Josh Metellus. The only time his name came up was they were talking about extending him, his contract, stuff like that. But in terms of being impactful, Josh Metellus is going to be that dude in 2025. You can line him up at safety. You can line him up at slot. You can line him up at linebacker. Hell, you can even line him up on the defensive line. I've seen that. They put him in that double A-gap blitz at times. So he can play every position, in my opinion, on the Minnesota Vikings defense. And I think he's going to be used that way in Brian Flores' defense. This is going to be his best year, UP Nation. He's had some good years with the Minnesota Vikings, but I put him on the list because I feel like this is going to be his best year. He's a rare blend of IQ, leadership, physicality. You're talking about a dude that can get downhill and play the run. When you watch Josh Metellus play, you don't see him miss a lot of tackles. This dude gets his pads low, and he's bringing that thump to you. That's why I like Josh Metellus, and I had to put him on this list. The thing that's going to make him better is that now, see, this Minnesota Vikings defense, UP Nation, is going to change. Everybody's been enamored with what B-Flow has done for the last 2 years. B-Flow has been coaching on a level of making adjustments and smoke and mirrors. Now they're starting to fill holes with B-Flow guys, and you can see that in who they drafted in this year's draft and who they brought in during the free agency period. You see it. Josh Metellus, not that he's going to bounce around all over the place, not that they're not going to use him that way, but he's going to be able to nestle in now. He's going to be able to nestle in and get comfortable at a few spots so he doesn't have to bounce from this position to that position to this position to that position. Will he be still a Swiss Army knife type guy? Of course. That's what Brian Flores is going to use him for. I'm just saying that before, it was a little bit extreme the way they played him. Now he can nestle into a few spots that will help enhance all the great attributes that he brings to the table. That's what you're going to see from Josh Metellus. I believe he's going to have a career high in tackles this year. I also believe that he's going to have a career high in interceptions this year. You heard it here first on Unconventional Playbook. I just think Josh Metellus is going to have a fantastic year under this scheme with Brian Flores and the pieces that they brought in on the defensive side of the ball. I would argue, UP Nation, that Josh Metellus is probably the most important Minnesota Viking on defense. And that's not a hot take. That's the reality of it all, man. I just think that much of Josh Metellus. Who is my number two? Who is my number two? I said I had three for you. Guys that I think are going to break out in the 2025 season. By the way, hit that like and subscribe button. It only takes a minute to hit it. hit that like and subscribe button. My number 2 guy is, again, I wouldn't call him underrated, but this is a guy that I think is going to be really, really impactful for the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to flip this to the offensive side of the ball. My guy, Jalen Speedy Naylor. I call him the hidden vertical threat. This dude is speedy. He has the ability to make big plays, man, on limited reps. This is one of those guys where he is going to be another one of those insurance policies for J.J. McCarthy. Where has J.J. McCarthy been strong in OTAs? What are some of the reports that are coming out? Short game, intermediate game. This is where Jalen Naylor fits in. I think he's going to be just as important to J.J. McCarthy as T.J. Hockenson. When you're a rookie quarterback, your best friend is guys that can run those quick slants, guys that can run those drag routes. That's T.J. Hockenson. That's Jalen Naylor. Now, I'm not saying Jalen Naylor can't take the top off the defense, run past a few safeties. But I'm just thinking his primary role is going to be an insurance policy for J.J. McCarthy, being able to hit him quickly on some of those quick slants. And don't get it twisted. Jalen Naylor, man, he's going to give you that yak. He's going to give you that yak. If you have great ball placement, he's a guy that can turn a 3 to 4 yard screen play or slant into an 80-yard touchdown. Like, he has that ability. And I think last year kind of hurt him a little bit, even though he showed up at times and had really, really good games. I just didn't think Sam Darnold is the type of quarterback that can make all the throws when you talk about short game, intermediate game. Those windows, that just wasn't Sam Darnold's game. Not trying to throw shade on Sam Darnold, but it just wasn't his game. J.J. McCarthy can do those sort of things. And reports that are coming out of training camp is he's really starting to build that rapport, that chemistry with J.J. McCarthy. Those two stay after practice and work on routes together, he and Jalen Naylor. So that's telling you how important of a role that the Minnesota Vikings think he needs to fill for the 2025 season. What's the biggest reason that Jalen Naylor, people would put him in the underrated category? And again, I don't put him there, but I think outside of the Minnesota Vikings family, I think a lot of people would put him there. Hell, you got Jordan Addison on the team. You got Justin Jefferson on the team, and then you got T.J. Hockenson on the team. And now you draft a guy like Tay Felton from Maryland that's going to push him. So I think there are times where Jalen Naylor can kind of get lost in the shuffle. Previous to last year, he always had an injury problem. So I think his health, UP Nation, is going to be paramount going into the 2025 season. I'm telling you right now, if he gets dinged, that's going to create an opportunity for Tay Felton. So it's in Jalen Naylor's best interest to stay on the field. And I think he's going to be healthy this year. He's got to be healthy this year. I think ultimately, when it's all said and done, when it comes to putting pen to paper, I don't think he resigns with the Minnesota Vikings. I think that's why they drafted a guy like Tay Felton. But I think for this next year, I think he's going to hit because he's going to want that bag going elsewhere with whatever team he signs with. I don't see him re-signing with the Minnesota Vikings after this season. So this is a really important stretch for him. And I think he's going to be box office for the 2025 season. I think this is going to be Jalen Naylor's best season with the Minnesota Vikings. And keep in mind, man, Jordan Addison is going to be out for at least 3 games with that suspension looming. We have no idea when that's coming, but who's going to step into that wide receiver 2 role? I think it's going to be Jalen Naylor. He's been around, he knows the playbook, and he has that ability. Don't be shocked to see a lot of Jalen Naylor producing, and I'm talking about touchdowns, early to start the season. You saw flashes of that at the start of last season. I think he's even going to do better this season. Who's my number 3 guy, man? I got a number 3 guy for you. Someone that I think is going to have an impactful year that nobody's really talking about. I know that there's not a whole lot of people talking about this guy. He's a little bit different than Naylor and Metellus. I'm talking about my guy, Theo Jackson. Theo Jackson ultimately is going to replace our guy, Cam Bynum. And I don't know how you replace a Cam Bynum, man. Cam Bynum, heart and soul of our defense. I'm going to miss all the creative dances that he came up with whenever the Minnesota Vikings got a turnover or a pick six. Just love Cam Bynum, man. Shout out to Cam Bynum. But the Minnesota Vikings extended Theo Jackson, which means he's going to have a bigger role on this defense, going to be starting on this defense, taking the place of Cam Bynum. And the thing about Theo Jackson is quietly the coaches think that he's got great energy and that he's smart. He's very impactful on special teams. And if you could think back, if you could rewind to last year's training camp, who was everybody talking about that looked really good? Theo Jackson. He was just playing behind Cam Bynum, man. He couldn't get those reps. You know, it was kind of like he was in the same situation that Dallas Turner was playing behind Grenard and Van Ginkel, man. There's just no reps to be had. Now, Cam Bynum is out of the way, and now Theo Jackson gets his opportunity. Versatile safety, aggressive safety. I would even call him a ball hawk. Not afraid to be physical. He's got a little thump to him. UP Nation, Theo Jackson's got a little bit of thump to him. Again, the coaches love his smarts. The coaches love his energy. You know, we always use the V word around here. I like his versatility. I think when you look up and down the roster of B-Flow's defense, he's always looking for guys that he can plug into a lot of different spots. Theo Jackson has that versatility. Most guys, the path that they take in the NFL is that they usually start on special teams and then they start to gravitate towards a bigger role on their specific team. And I think Theo Jackson is going to be no different, man. Theo Jackson is going to be no different for the Minnesota Vikings. So those are my three breakout players, man. Those are my three breakout players. Josh Metellus, Jalen Naylor, Theo Jackson. These aren't necessarily household names outside of the Minnesota Vikings circle, but they're going to be crucial to us, to our season. There are so many guys on this roster, man, that I think are going to be impactful players, but those are my top three. Who do you think is going to be impactful? Maybe there's somebody out there that I haven't mentioned. Who's an underrated player on this team that you think is going to bring it this year in 2025? Man, there's a lot of good candidates out there. I just pulled out three that I was thinking about, and so I'm giving it to you, UP Nation. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It just takes a minute, UP Nation, to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, this has been Unconventional Playbook. We will make sure to see you when we see you. Skol!